All right, let's get into it. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the brain's incredible chemical symphony. We're going to deconstruct how trillions of microscopic connections create, well, everything. Our thoughts, our actions, our entire reality. We'll start at the 30,000-foot view and zoom all the way down to the individual molecules making it all happen.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with a quick tour of the brain's geography. Then we're going to zoom right into the synapse, where the action happens. We'll look at exactly how chemical messages get sent. Then we'll decode the language they're using. After that, we'll see how that language gets fine-tuned. And finally, we'll pull it all together to see the whole symphony in action.
Okay, first things first, we need to map the command center. Before we can understand the messages, we kind of need to know the addresses they're being sent to, right? So let's start with the cerebral cortex, that big, wrinkly outer layer that handles all the high-level stuff. You can think of the prefrontal areas, right up front, as the brain's CEO. It's doing all the complex planning and decision-making. And then the areas toward the back? They're basically the data integration department, constantly weaving together all our sensory information to create our perception of the world.
Now, tucked away beneath the cortex, you've got these absolutely critical structures. Think of them as the brain's essential back-end operations. The basal ganglia are what make our movements smooth. The thalamus? That's like the grand central station for sensory info. Almost everything passes through it. The hypothalamus is the body's thermostat, regulating temperature, appetite, you name it. And of course, the amygdala is our emotion processor, especially for fear, while the hippocampus is the key to locking in new memories.
Okay, so now let's zoom in, way in. Let's see how the individual neurons, the actual building blocks, connect and talk to each other. Neurons communicate at these junctions called synapses, and they basically come in two flavors. Electrical synapses are like a direct wire, super fast, but not very flexible. Chemical synapses, on the other hand, use these little molecular messengers. Now, this is a bit slower, but it makes them incredibly versatile and easy to modify. And that flexibility, that modifiability, is exactly why they're the primary target for pharmacology. This is where we can really get in and make changes. So how does a chemical synapse actually get its message across? It's not just a random splash of chemicals. It's an absolutely beautiful piece of molecular engineering. It's this perfectly choreographed four-step process. An electrical signal, the action potential, zips down to the terminal. That arrival throws open the gates for calcium ions, which come flooding into the cell. And that rush of calcium is the critical trigger. It gives the order for these little bubbles, these vesicles full of neurotransmitters, to merge with the cell membrane and dump their cargo. Now, this looks complicated, but just focus on the main actors here. You see that snare complex? You can think of it as a molecular zipper that's already got the vesicle docked and ready. But the real star of the show is synaptotagmin. It's the calcium sensor. When calcium rushes in, it binds to synaptotagmin, which then gives that final tug on the zipper, and boom, fusion and release. It's an elegant, powerful mechanism. Of course, sending the message is only half the battle. You have to end it too. If you didn't, the signal would just keep echoing. So the synapse has a cleanup crew ready to go. The neurotransmitters are either sucked back up for reuse, a process called reuptake, or they're broken down by enzymes right there in the gap. It keeps the communication sharp and precise. Let's move on to the messengers themselves. What are the actual words the brain is using in this incredibly diverse chemical language? This slide shows the two major classes beautifully. On the left, you have small molecule transmitters like glutamate. They're basically made to order, right there at the synapse. It's fast, it's efficient, perfect for rapid-fire conversations. On the right, you see the journey of a neuropeptide. These are bigger molecules, synthesized way back in the cell body and then shipped down the axon. It's a much slower process, so use these for more widespread, longer-lasting announcements.
So what you really need to remember is that the brain's fundamental language is incredibly simple. You have glutamate, which is the main go signal, it's excitatory, and then you have GABA and glycine, which are the main stop signals, they're inhibitory. This basic go and stop system is then enriched by this huge vocabulary of peptides, like our natural endorphins or hormones like oxytocin, that add much more complex layers of meaning.
But as you know, communication in the brain is way more sophisticated than just go and stop. It's all about context, it's about nuance, it's about changing the very tone of the conversation. So what if a neuron doesn't want to just yell a command? What if it wants to, I don't know, set the mood? Make its neighbors a little more or a little less likely to listen to the next message that comes along?
This is the absolute key distinction between a classic neurotransmitter and a neuromodulator. The analogy here is perfect. A neurotransmitter is like a direct text message. Fire now. It's fast, it's direct, and it causes an immediate effect. A neuromodulator, on the other hand, is like changing the lighting in the music in the room. It doesn't send a specific command itself, but it fundamentally changes the environment, altering how all future messages are going to be received. It's a much slower, longer-lasting effect.
And the cast of characters playing this modulating role is just wild. It's not just the peptides we talked about. The brain uses lipids, like our own endocannabinoids. It uses common energy molecules, like ATP and adenosine. It even uses soluble gases, like nitric oxide. And it can cook up its own neurosteroids on the fly to tune the activity of its neighbors. It's an incredibly versatile toolkit.
Now, to get even more precise, neurons use these really clever tricks. They can use co-release, where they pack a fast transmitter and a slow modulator into the very same vesicle. It's like a 1-2 punch. And they use autoreceptors, which are basically a feedback thermostat. The sending neuron can sense how much of its own chemical is out there and adjust its release accordingly. These receptors, like the alpha-2 or 5-HT1 subtypes, are crucial for keeping the system in balance.
Okay, time to bring it all home. Let's zoom back out and look at a single neuron, listening to all these different chemical messages at once and trying to make a decision. Just look at this thing. This one neuron is a tiny, incredibly powerful computer. It's getting bombarded constantly by thousands of different signals. You have excitatory go signals from glutamate, inhibitory stop signals from GABA, all hitting it at the same time. And in the background, you have this constant hum of neuromodulators that are turning the overall volume dial up or down, making it more or less responsive to everything. So the final decision, does it fire its own signal or does it stay quiet, is the sum total of this ridiculously complex and continuous integration. It's not one signal, it's the result of the entire orchestra. It really is a true synaptic symphony. And that leaves us with this final, honestly awe-inspiring thought. This whole process, this symphony, is happening at trillions of synapses all at once, every second of your life. So how does all of that microscopic chemical chaos give rise to the harmony and order of our thoughts, our feelings, our very consciousness? That right there is the biggest question of them all.